awareness. And it's basically you without all the baggage that you've picked up in your limited three-dimensional experience. So you have what I would call an egoic persona or a human persona. And as a human being, reincarnating over and over again, having negative experiences, having separation anxiety as a child, having
Yes.
abandonment issues, being punished into behaving in certain ways, having fantastic romance that blows up in your face, and
Mm.
all the trauma that goes with living human life. You carry a lot of baggage. You carry a lot of baggage that's based on your experiences in the here and now. You carry a lot of baggage left over from previous lifetimes, and you carry a lot of baggage on behalf of your ancestry. And your higher self has none of that. Your higher
Mm.
self is you, completely and utterly free of all of the limiting thoughts and beliefs that hold you back in your current experience. So everything that you experience in this world and everything that you create is a result of your internal energy, the energy that you broadcast at all times. You create your reality out of your thoughts, your beliefs, your judgments, your expectations, your limiting memories, and so forth. And if you are carrying a lot of traumatic residue left over from horrible things that have happened in the past, then that has an impact on what your thoughts and expectations are. And your higher self is free from all of that. It doesn't carry the burden of the traumas that you have experienced as a soul reincarnating as a human persona over and over again. So your higher self knows you intimately
Mm.
because your higher self is you
Mm.
just without the baggage. And therefore, if you can connect with the higher self, which I would say is a misnomer because you are always connected with your higher self, because you are your higher self, you just don't realize it. If you connect with your higher self, then you can begin to see the world through the filter, through the goggles of your higher self. And you can recognize the limiting patterns and the limiting thought systems, the limiting expectations that keep you stuck in ever repeating patterns of trauma over and over again.
Mm.
So, Lightbridge is all about bridging the gap between where you are right now as a human persona and your higher self. And essentially, there's this huge gap between where you are and where you would like to be. And inside that gap is all of the trauma and the limiting belief systems, the bogus limitations, the bogus expectations, and so forth that have been forced upon you through your life. And I call it Light Bridge because not only does it bridge the gap, it shines a light on all of that crap that's in the valley in between so that you can heal it and let it go. And it's truly transformational. It's definitely liberating, and it can be very humbling because quite often it requires letting go of belief systems that you have loved and cherished for
Yeah.
years that simply aren't serving you.
Mm.
Yeah.
That is amazing. I want to share some stories really quick, and I know you have a lot. Carolyn said, I felt an immediate shift when Patrick did the soul healing. Another person said, life again feels beautiful after the magical session with Patrick.
Mhm.
And we've had a lot of stories of people releasing age old energies, patterns, belief systems. And I want to get into kind of what happens to those because one big misconception that came up today as I was meditating on this session today was I've got to be a perfect person. I've got to do
Mhm.
all this peeling of the onion so that I can one day get closer to this higher self.
Yeah.
Is that how does that fit in with what you've seen?
Well, it fits in actually pretty seamlessly because when you say that I need to be a perfect person,
Mm,
what that usually refers to is all of my actions need to be in alignment. I need to do. I
right.
need to perform the perfect meditations and the perfect manifestations. And I need to make sure that I never think a negative thought.
Yeah.
And there's this whole checklist of
Mm,
activities that you need to do in order to align with your higher self. And that's not really the way the universe works energetically. The way it works
mm,
energetically is whatever energy you're radiating internally, that's what gets reflected back to you by the universe. Some people, when I say the universe, some people would say the quantum field.
yeah.
So the quantum field, the universe, doesn't really care so much about the actions that you're doing and how perfectly you're doing them. It cares about the energy that drives the action. So you could be doing the perfect manifestation technique and yet have doubt in the back of your mind. And it's that doubt that gets radiated out into the universe in your energetic signature, and it gets reflected back to you, and your manifestations tend to crumble because of the doubt. You could be uh, doing affirmations about abundance, for example, saying over and over again, uh, I, I attract abundance, I attract abundance, I attract abundance. And your subconscious mind could be in a sarcastic state of mind and will be saying, no, you don't, no, you don't, no, you don't, over and over again with each one of those affirmations.
Mm,
That's the energy that you're radiating out into the universe, into the quantum field, and that's what gets reflected back to you. So we force ourselves to take actions that look perfect on the surface, but really what you need is internal alignment with whatever your desires are. You need to be um, not perfectly aligned, but the majority of your energy needs to be leaning in the direction of what your true desires are. And that is the radiant, charismatic broadcast that you send out into the universe that gets reflected back to you.
wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So we're going to talk a little bit about how people can do this. For people that are wondering how you got into Lightbridge, how all this started opening up for you. I love your story. What was going on and what did you start to discover
Hmm.
with Lightbridge and its effect on people?
Well, in my personal life, what was going on was disaster after disaster. Just
Where
I
was your
would,
higher self during this whole
yeah,
thing?
my higher self was sitting there waiting for me to take action.
Mm,
It was there. It wasn't going to step in and do it for me. It wasn't going to step in and take all of my pain away and make sure
mm,
everything was perfect. But it was there waiting for me because I was it. I just was buried under all these false belief systems about how the universe works.
mm,
I needed to cut through all of my negative expectations and my false belief systems about how the universe operates in order to reveal the higher self that was there all along. So I was in the restaurant industry. It was disaster after disaster. I
mm,
jumped from job to job. I get laid off, or I'd get fired, or I'd quit because I was too frustrated with the drama and the ego and all of the, 60, 70-hour work weeks and
yeah.
so forth that were making me physically sick.
Mm,
And I had a number of instances in which I completely just broke down and ended up practically homeless as a result.
wow.
And it was in one of those instances where I decided to really test the law of attraction.
Hmm,
I had nothing left to lose. So what I did was I called it the positivity project or the optimism project.
okay.
And I put a rubber band around my wrist And every time I caught myself thinking a negative thought, I would snap the rubber band and force myself to think something positive. And as I continued to do that, doors started opening,
Mm.
and then suddenly everything fell into place. I got the best job that I ever had in the restaurant industry. I got the best apartment that I ever had living in San Francisco. I got this apartment at half the price that I was paying for my previous apartment in a much better location in town. And everything just seemed to be exploding in the ways that I wanted it to.
Wow.
So, what did I do? I let my guard down.
Mm.
I began to let those negative thoughts creep back in again. I began to have the negative expectations. I began to play the ego game once
Oh.
again
Oh.
in the job that I loved so much. And the whole house of cards came collapsing down. And I lost everything once again.
And I've heard
So
this a lot with, just to jump in, sorry, Patrick, people that
yeah.
just try to use the law of attraction as kind of like almost hacking things
Hmm.
without maybe getting a little deeper and really embodying it. It's like, I'm going to say these things, I'm going to use these little techniques, these little tweaks, these little hacks, and it works for a time. Something
Hmm.
always comes forward, something always kind of bubbles up from the surface. It sounds like that's what happened to you.
Yes, you have
Yeah.
to embody it.
Yes.
It doesn't
Yes.
have, for me, it worked, but it was a
Man.
surface layer set of activities.
Wow.
So it was me trying to be perfect, like you were talking about earlier. I need to do the perfect affirmation. I need to do the affirmation a certain number of times a day. I need to have my vision board updated. I need to stand in front of my vision board and kind of obsess about what I was putting on it.
That's right. That's right.
And all of that worked, but it didn't last because I hadn't internalized any of the belief systems about it being possible.
Mm.
I still had doubts. I was still radiating the energy of fear and the expectation that things would fall apart. And because I had the expectation that things would fall apart, and that was my dominant energy, it fell apart.
Yeah.
So I learned a valuable lesson about internalization. Um,
Mm.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. This is really interesting. So, for people that have tried healing sessions, affirmations, vision boards, different types of, like, spiritual therapies, therapeutics, what is it about Light Bridge that kind of bypasses all that? Is it it's almost like a different pathway, if you will, than trying to fix everything. You're I don't want to paraphrase. It feels like you're just going to connect anyway. You're gonna
Yes.
make this connection anyway.
Yeah. So you are eternally connected with your higher
Yeah,
self,
yeah, exactly.
even if you don't realize it. You're
Yeah,
you're completely unaware of it. And the joy of your higher self is you without all the baggage. So your higher self
yeah,
knows exactly what you need to do to get from here to there.
yeah,
It also knows exactly what you will do to get from here to there, and it can help you along the way.
yeah. Does it know, like, kind of the? I'm thinking of timelines, like the idea of like a future timeline, like, or like it
Mhm.
knows kind of what you did to get from point A to point B from a standpoint of a future timeline, looking back to the present
Yes.
as to where you are now.
Yes. And the reason for
Wow.
that is that the higher self lives deeply enmeshed in higher dimensional awareness.
Well, man,
And in higher
wow.
dimensional awareness, there really is no concept of time. Time collapses in on itself so that all times are available simultaneously. So your higher self is the original you. Your
Mm,
higher self is you before you started taking on all of the baggage as your soul began to incarnate in human form and in other forms as well. And it's you who you will grow into when you finally do all the work that you need to do. So it's both the original you and the ultimate you, and
well,
it you can draw from both directions. It knows where you need to go. It knows what you need to do. And it's not going to do it for you because that's not the pathway. The pathway involves you connecting with your higher self in a way that you become aware of what its patterns are, its belief systems, its thought systems, and so forth. And then the way I find the easiest way to work is to simply draw forth patterns or blueprints or templates of energy from the higher self and apply them to you and your current human persona, your
Mm.
current egoic persona,
What are
and
some,
make them
yeah,
find ways to make them step.
what are
Yeah.
some stories? I got chill bumps a bunch of times during that. So let me know what y'all are feeling when Patrick says this version of yourself is connected with you. It hasn't left you. And it's even the future version of yourself, maybe, and I'm paraphrasing, that's attained or received or embodied all the things that you're seeking now. This is
Mhm.
so in line with kind of what I've experienced. It just blows me away. What are some things that you've seen happen? I mean, you've got people who received offers on houses, soul healed things, met business partners, all sorts of different stories very rapidly after some of these things fell into place. What are some of your
Mhm.
favorite things that you've seen, Patrick?
I've even had experiences with people who thought that they were locked into negative situations forever.
Okay.
So, for example, there was a teenage girl, 16 years old,
Mm,
who had such a bad autoimmune disease that she had to live in a hermetically sealed room. So she was
whoa.
basically a bubble girl. And we worked together for about 6 months. And I'll never forget the day where she sent me an email message saying that she was able to hug her mother for the very first time in over a year because her mother was now able to enter the bubble with her.
Wow.
And then before long, she was out swimming and enjoying life as a normal 17-year-old teenage girl. That was truly profound for me because it looked on the surface like she was going to be stuck in that hermetically sealed room her entire life, and that would have been miserable. So, I've seen some miraculous healings. I've seen people have dramatic shifts in their relationships with their family members. Which it's really funny the way it works out. It's quite often we'll be doing a relationship clearing exercise
Yeah.
and I'll be working with somebody. We're cutting the cords
Yeah.
and we're clearing away the unfinished business and we're getting rid of the oaths and vows and so forth that no longer serve. And we're paying off the unpaid debts and so forth with a specific family member. And it's happened over and over again that that specific family member will call or send a text message right in the middle of the process and basically say, "What are you doing?"
Oh my God.
Yeah,
Oh my
yeah,
gosh. Wow.
yeah.
Everything is connected. I mean, that's the whole truth of,
Mhm,
non-duality, non-locality is that
mhm,
everything is connected. So we have this connection, but if we come from the space of our future self, of that embodied individual versus trying to do some kind of hokey magic to try to hold a frequency, like what if we already are that and we're not
mhm,
disconnected from it, things begin to really shift. I mean, you are
mhm.
never broken, you're not separate from what you want. I think that's one of the big lies, don't you think? Is that one of the things that
Well,
perhaps our ego starts to play with us regarding?
it is it. Well, first of all, it is a big lie that you
Hmm.
are broken and that you are separate from your higher self. But it doesn't feel like a lie when
Mm.
you are enmeshed in the pain that is potential here in human existence, it can feel like the entire universe is against you. It can feel like the universe itself is constructed of pain and challenges. And when you're really enmeshed in that painful energy, it can be very, very hard to force yourself to think something different. especially physical pain. When you're in physical pain, the entire universe is in pain with you, it seems sometimes. And it's asking a lot of somebody to set aside their pain and think happy thoughts for a while. So I don't want to go down the pathway of the toxic positivity. If you just think happy thoughts, everything would be okay. Um, what I try to coax people into doing is finding something positive that they can latch on to
Yes.
and then savoring it as thoroughly as they can.
Mm.
And that begins to shift the energy. And after a while, it begins to grow and snowball until you're savoring everything that you can have gratitude for in your life. And there are radical shifts that take place after that.
Yeah,
So,
that is
yeah,
huge.
and you're right. It can feel like the entire universe is against you, and that we live in a hostile universe, and that it's a dog eat dog world,
Yes.
and that if you don't take what's yours, somebody will take it away from you, and you're going to get crushed by the system. And there's a lot of fear out there about being crushed by the system.
Yes.
But the more you feed into the fear of being crushed, the higher the probability is that you will be crushed by that system. So we need to find ways to shift that internal energy so that we can not be blind to the problems of the world that we live in, but at least have the majority of our energy leaning in the direction of what your true desires are. It is true
Yes.
that we live in a world of polarity, and the negative things that happen in your life really give you clarity on what you would prefer to have instead. My advice is that when you have a negative experience, instead of basking in the pain of the negative experience and milking it for all that it's worth, ask yourself, what would I prefer to have instead? And then try to shift your energy into whatever that answer is. So you use the pain as a springboard for launching your energy into what you truly desire, and the shifts begin to happen and then they accelerate.
That's very sage advice. I love it. And we are going to be opening the door to a lot more advice from Patrick Prohaska, guidance, connection. Patrick's going to be doing some readings. I want to ask you a little bit about kind of what you see when you go live with people, because we're going to do that in a moment. So go ahead and hit the react button. We are going to take some callers. Patrick, you've said that Light Bridge, I love this, actually reveals our magic wand, right? What does that mean, our magic wand? I mean, and then what do we do with that?
Oh, yeah. Well, that comes from the history of all of the private sessions that I've done with people, because I have worked
Uh-huh.
for so many years attracting every now and then somebody who basically they have a problem, they have a desire that they want to
Mm-hmm.
have fulfilled, but they don't actually want to do anything. What they want is for me to wave a magic wand and make their pain go away.
Mm,
And that's all well and good, but if I wave a magic wand and make your pain go away, and then you turn around and go back to the negative thinking that created your mess in the first place, it's going to be ineffective. You might get results for a day or two, but then boom, you're back where you were before. So if you are in search of a magic wand to take care of all of your problems, but you don't want to do anything to change your thoughts, beliefs, judgments, expectations, and negative emotions, then you're just going to slip back to where you were before. The fact of the matter is this, and this is truly powerful. You create your reality, you create your experience in the world through your thoughts, your beliefs, your judgments, your expectations, and your emotional stance. And therefore, if you can take control of your thoughts, your beliefs, your judgments, and your expectations, then you can shift reality. You are the magic wand that you have been searching for all
Mm,
along because you have that power inside you. All
mm.
you have to do is shift your expectations, and the world shifts around you. Is that making sense?
It does. It does. Anyone else getting like chill bumps? Because I feel this as you're saying it. It's kind of like we've heard throughout history, throughout all the ancient texts, that we have this power within us, that the Father resides within us. And it's
Mhm.
like now we're getting close. We're brushing right up against this. And we don't have to be perfect. We don't have to fix every single thing. We don't have to do 20 years of clearing, a bajillion things. We just have to understand the process, right? The way to reach that. And I want to talk a little bit about that a little later. But when you connect in with an individual, I mean, you've had shifts where you saw in my teeth, actually, it's kind of funny. I think back about 2 years ago, you saw something in my teeth, I think it
Mhm.
was. And I didn't have any. It's the exact same place where I'm having the issue now.
Mhm.
So I wonder if that was there back then and it took 2 years to come forward. I should have gone to the dentist then. But you see a lot. And how do you see that? How does it come into your awareness
Oh,
when
wow.
you connect in? Because we're gonna do it in a moment. Do you remember that? You had said something
I
with my
remember
teeth,
that. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I was like, I don't really have anything, and now it's half. But what do you see, Patrick? What how does it come in?
Well, my primary sense is sensory. I'm clairsentient, and I tend to feel in my body where the energy blockages are. So if I were to connect with you energetically, and I were to connect with your higher self, and often we connect with whatever guides you want to invite along as well,
Mm,
I would feel how the energy is flowing through your system. I would feel it in my own body.
mm,
And sometimes it can be overwhelming. Sometimes it's pretty intense. I had a session yesterday that it really knocked me sideways
mm.
because this person was carrying an entity that had wrapped itself around his heart and then had woven itself into his rib cage.
Wow.
And that pretty much knocked me down trying to work with that. So I feel how the energy flows in your system. I feel where the blockages are.
Mm,
And as you already know, often the location of a blockage is a metaphorical symbol for whatever the issue is underneath. So if you have a blockage in the throat, it often has something to do with speaking your truth or your
yes.
creative expression or having the truth choked out of you. It doesn't have to be that. It can be a past life memory of having been hanged or choked to death,
Hmm.
but it usually connects with some sort of metaphorical meaning. So if you have pain in the lower back, that often has to do with security and stability and even carrying burdens on behalf of other people that don't belong to you. And so the where I'm feeling it in my body gives me some information about what to work on. And I also use my clairsentience, my claircognizance to know what to do with the information that's coming in because like I said, there are a lot of different possibilities, and I have to sift through them pretty quickly to get at whatever the core issue is.
And what happens? So we're gonna do a little bit, kind of like mini readings. I don't know if we're gonna get into a full blown session here. Obviously, we want to get to a few people, as many as we can. But then, what happens with that energy? How do you begin to maybe realign or reintegrate that?
Yeah, so a number of different things can happen. Usually, I work through the higher self in order to create a different
Mm,
pattern of energy.
wow.
The patterns of energy that people have, they've usually carried for a very long time. So
Mm,
you can have tension in your arm that you're completely unaware of for a long time until it's cleared. So I work with the higher self in order to establish new energetic patterns within the body. Basically, I take the template or the blueprint for um, the proper energy flow from the higher self and apply it to you in your egoic persona. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, and there was a noise in the background.
Yeah, we got someone so excited they've already unmuted themselves. So let me see. I think I know who it is there. All right, so I'm going to jump to I'm going to go to Lisa Fry. We're going to go to Laura H, and then we're going to go to Tamars. So, and we'll move fairly quick. Maybe it's just identifying where things are, and whatever Patrick can begin to move or help realign. We're going to do that. And Lisa, if you have any question whatsoever, could be related to your higher self, to what's going on with you. There you are, Lisa. How are you doing this season? We haven't connected yet. What's
I
going
know.
on?
It's just living life. Still dealing with some of the same weird stuff as before. And so sometimes I, like you said, I'm like, where is my higher self? Did
That's
he
right. You wrote that.
leave?
Yeah. Did he leave?
Yeah.
Did it leave? She leave? I don't know. Is it a he, she, it? We don't
He,
know.
she did, or do I have an entity attachment or something?
Mm,
Just some weird things that keep reoccurring. And I
mm,
try so hard to, wake up and
you do.
have gratitude and, and then just weird stuff.
Well, you got the
um,
man here. We're blessed.
Yes.
okay. So there is, erratic energy flowing through your system. Do you have occasional blurriness or like bright lights in front of your eyes that make it difficult to see?
Yeah, blurry vision.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So
It's so
what
funny.
I
My
see,
heart is racing right now because I haven't been picked in so long. Sorry. Ooh, I'm shaking.
yeah, that's perfectly fine. Um, so what I see is like energy sparking out of your system, and you are like cracking open, and there's energy glowing out of your
Mm,
system, and it's so bright that it's blurring your vision.
Yeah.
So you're not really able to see clearly what's going on with yourself, and you're not able to see clearly what's going on around you.
Right.
So the major blockage that I feel is in the eyes at the moment. And it's primarily the light that you are tapping into, the energy that you're tapping into is
mm,
so powerful. And I can even see like on the image that you have on the screen that with the hands and that super bright light, that it is uh, your eyes simply don't know how to process that much visual stimulation.
Oh,
So let's do some healing on
mm.
that so that you can begin to see more clearly, even as you're stepping into brighter and brighter energy. It's as if you're going into a super well lit room, but your eyes aren't adjusting yet. And therefore, when you go into the room, you're blinded and you don't know what to do and where to move the energy and so forth. Is that all making sense?
yeah. Sorry, it's making me cry because I try to be such a bright light, and
You
Darius
do.
Hmm.
knows that, and just
Yeah,
send love to the earth every day. And it is
yeah.
really odd because I will be inside my house and in my yard, my property,
Mm,
and clear vision. I wear glasses, and
Hmm.
I will leave I call it my animal sanctuary, the sacred space, and my vision will get so blurry, it's hard to drive. Yeah, like I can't
mm.
read
Yeah.
license plates, can't read off
You've
ramp
never told
signs.
us this, Lisa. I never heard this on the chat. This is
Oh,
amazing.
and I
Yeah.
mean, literally, the closer I get to other people,
Mm,
Hmm.
they will walk by
So,
me and say, "Hey, Lisa," I'm looking right at them. I don't even recognize them. Or like if I get in
wow.
large crowds, like go up to the football game, I
Yeah.
get dizzy and my vision gets so blurry that I will trip
Hmm.
on things when I'm walking.
Hmm. All makes perfect sense to me. So the solution is not to dim your light. The solution ultimately for you is actually to increase your light output because you are a radiant beacon who is spreading love energy far and wide. You don't have to go anywhere, you don't have to do anything, you just radiate energy and people can see it and feel it and benefit from it. The healing needs to be in the eyes so that
mm,
as you are this radiant beacon that's shining your bright light to the world, you don't blind yourself in the process.
mm.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think it might tap into a little bit the old mythology of the blind seer that the more you develop your psychic abilities, the less you have the physical capability of seeing. So if there's any pattern of the blind seer in you or anyone else in the call right now, you're losing your vision because you are becoming more psychically attuned. Let's
Mm,
clear that away because that's just an old mythology.
wow.
It's an old story. It's it's a dramatic story. It is compelling and interesting, but it's not true. It doesn't need to be true for you. You do not need to lose your vision in order to shine your light.
Wow. And Patrick, this is great. I've heard a lot of people talk about vision recently, so thank you. Wow. Wow.
Beautiful. Everyone take a deep breath and hold it for a moment and release when you're ready. Wow.
All right. If we can, I want to send Lisa in love. I know this is going to keep running and moving. So let us know, Lisa, what happens. I want to go to Laura if possible, to Mars, and then potentially Tina. We've got all sorts of things from entity questions to lots of other things going on. So Laura H, I think you're next. What's going on? You've got Patrick Prohaska on. What a treat. And he is just on fire today. What's happening?
Hi, Darius. Hi, Patrick.
Hi.
Hello.
We've just had one on eyesight. Do you have anything for hearing? I've never heard of a deaf kind of seer before, but I feel as if my hearing's a bit kind of blunt. There's something, and it's like I get bouts of tinnitus, and it might be the energy. Just could you
It
check in?
is. Yeah. So in your case, and I think this is common in one way or the other with almost everyone on the call,
Mm,
you are rapidly expanding your gifts of clairvoyance and clairaudience.
mm,
So you
Oh,
have these dormant gifts that are coming online. You've had them your entire life, but recently they've been blossoming.
mhm.
And as visual imagery, visual information is coming in, and as auditory information is coming in, your brain hasn't quite caught up yet to how to process that information. So
Ah,
you're getting visual stimulation that is non-physical in nature. Your clairvoyance is coming online. You have information flooding your brain, but the
mm,
part of your brain that interprets that information doesn't know what to do with it because it's brand new and it's never been trained. You have information coming in through your ears, and your brain doesn't know what to do with it, so all it hears is noise.
yeah.
So, for everyone on the call who has a similar condition, let's do some healing
wow.
so that we can open up the neural pathways and open up the dormant neural pathways that are already there designed to help you hear and see on a psychic level that up until now have been shut down because they just haven't been used. So we'll do this for everyone on the call.
Mm,
And as this energy is flowing, of course, we're drawing the energy from your higher self, which does not have this problem.
mm,
As the energy is flowing, you might feel some effervescence or some pinching or even squeezing inside your head, especially at the back of the head and around the ears.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm
Or you
even
may feel
feeling it.
nothing at
Yeah.
all.
Mm,
Okay. But the goal here is to get those neurotransmitters and those neural pathways that are designed to help you understand this information online.
Mm.
So the neurotransmitters, of course, they help transmit information from one part of the brain to the other so that you know what to do with the information you're receiving.
Mm-hmm.
And then the neural pathways are the literal pathways that the nerves follow. Okay, beautiful. Everyone take a deep breath and hold it for a moment. And release when you're ready. Okay, Laura, how are you feeling?
Yeah, that was really interesting. I got energy at the back of my head, and I actually got it in my throat too.
Mhm.
Your
Um,
voice sounds different, by the way. I don't know if anyone else notices that.
I
Like
was like,
it's
what's this going to bring?
way more powerful, more clear.
Yeah,
I, uh-huh. Wow.
thank
Laura.
you.
I mean, I want to ask you so many questions, Patrick, because you're tapping into a lot of, almost like medical intuition. I'm like, wait, how does this align to the higher self? But I'm realizing that it's all coming from this connection you're making with the higher
Mhm.
self that is letting you know of these things with
Yes.
pinpoint accuracy. Because you and me just had a realization about maybe 8 minutes ago. We're like, oh yeah, the tooth. It was like a year and a half ago, and you were talking about. I was like, there's nothing with my tooth, and here it is. My higher self knew this was going on. Maybe it was a tiny infection or something was off or a little crack. So there's a lot to cover, but I want to go to Tamara's, who I think has a fairly interesting question. I'm not sure. Let me see. Tamara's, you're the third one we're going to go with today. How are you? What's going on, my dear?
Hi, can you hear me?
I sure can.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks for picking me. Yeah, so you had Ken Lloyd on before, and I had
Mhm.
met with him and I had a session. And during when I had bought the package, and then during our session at the end, at the very end, I asked him how could I connect to my higher self. And so he was going through the thing, trying to do, how he does this thing. And then he was like, wait, have you ever connected before? And I was like, nope. And then he was like, okay, that's what's going on here. Like your
Mhm.
team seems like like they're running around like a chicken with their heads cut off, so to
Okay.
speak. He was like, so you need to start meditating more to try to, you know, take the time to connect. And so I
Mhm.
had been doing it and I still kept trying, but nothing ever happens. I just like get nothing. And so sometimes I might feel like I'm starting to have a situation where I feel like is this me being guided to do something or guided to try this thing or do this? And then I'm like, no, that's just me. But then sometimes a weird thing will happen and I was like, that couldn't have been me. So it's just like I can't tell whether it's just me being bright at the time, or is it my higher self, or I just don't know.
Yeah.
Great
And
question.
I just think I grew up in a tough household and like don't have much. I don't like show feelings much, even though I'm very empathetic to people. But like as far as me showing feelings, I feel like there's some kind of block or something that could be blocking me from that side of myself.
Yeah. Well, I love that question. How do I connect with my higher self?
Hmm.
I have a similar answer, yet radically different answer.
Hmm.
Because whenever somebody asks me, how do you connect with your higher self? My response is, you don't. You don't connect with your higher self because you already are your higher self. You just don't realize it.
Hmm.
So it's about awareness. It's
Mm.
about developing a deeper understanding of the internal power that you have inside you at all times that literally comes from your higher self.
Mm.
So you are your higher self. It doesn't feel like it because you are in this three-dimensional world struggling to navigate the three-dimensional world and competing against other people and having people block you and conflict and so forth. Your higher self has none of that, but your higher self lives in a completely different dimensional state. So the question becomes, how do you become aware of your higher dimensional nature? How do you become aware that you do have dimensions in you that you are not utilizing and that you have access to? So that awareness starts with, in my mind, training yourself to recognize when you are actually very powerfully creating your own reality. If something bad happens to you, sometimes bad things happen to people out of the blue. But for the most part, when something bad happens to you, you can trace back the thoughts and the beliefs and the expectations that made it probable for that bad thing to happen. So you create your reality out of your thoughts, your beliefs, your judgments, expectations, and so forth. I like repeating that over and over again because it is such a powerful statement. And as you become aware of just how powerful you are through your thoughts, your beliefs, and your judgments, you become deeply aware that you are acting as your higher self now. So, does that make sense?
Yes, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
is there anything else that I have going on that could be blocking any of that you notice?
What blocks almost everybody is the awareness.
Mm-hmm.
The awareness is blocked because we all have triggers. We all have things that kind of throw us into emotional reactions spontaneously without any thought.
Mm.
And whenever you are triggered into a specific state of mind, which is often negative, you self-awareness gets thrown out the window.
Right.
So a lot of the work that I do with people is to hunt down and relieve the triggers that cause you to have emotional reactions that are negative. So let's look at it this way. As I said, you create your reality through your expectations, emotions, and so forth. And if the vast majority of your expectations and emotions are on the positive side of things, then that's what's going to be reflected back to you by the quantum field, by the universe.
Right.
Emotion is what drives the power of what you manifest.
Mm,
And a question that I like to ask people is, you you know, you can think back to times where you have been absolutely consumed with rage
Mm.
or anger or jealousy or shame.
mm,
And you can feel these emotions like a fire that's burning inside you.
mm,
And I often like to ask people, have you ever felt joy or happiness to that same degree of passion?
mm,
And the answer usually is no. So,
yeah.
what I like to train people in is kind of numbing those negative reactions, instead of getting consumed with anger, just recognizing that you're angry about something and then taking action to fix it. And then when something positive happens and you're in a state of joy, diving into it and
Mm,
savoring it and feeling the gratitude and feeling like everything in your life is in alignment with this joy energy that you're feeling, even if it's only for a minute or two, because that emotion will magnify the broadcast
mm.
that you're signaling to the universe, and that's what gets reflected back to you. Is that making sense?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that makes so much sense. Yeah, that's very helpful.
Thank you.
Wow. I
Thank you
love it.
so
Well,
much.
we are going to be doing a sensory intuition attunement, and then I do want to get to Tina's question as well. So I want to say thank you to all of the callers. We're going to keep going here. Patrick, looking at the time, I want to dive into the sensory intuition
Mm.
attunement. We'll get to Tina towards the end of the call. We'll get to some more rapid fire questions. And what I want to do is everyone who is listening in on the live stream, thank you for being here. If you're on Facebook, Twitter, X, YouTube, great. If you're going to want to catch the activation process, come to our Zoom calls. be on the Zoom calls. You can get your help. You can get your hand raised and we will call on you. But we're going to dive into our process. So we'll see the live streamers a little bit later on the next call tomorrow or the next time we meet. And Patrick, tell us what we're going to do today for everybody on this call in the Zoom room.
Yes, it's going to be a sensory